Good morning, Jesus Center. We're praying this vitamin boost brings timely encouragement into your life today and enlightens and empowers you to be the amazing person God made you to be. We love you.
So this is something that I'm working on personally, is how to live more lightheartedly. And it's something that I want to personally grow in. So if there's any of you who want to grow in that as well, I want to invite you into that. But I really believe that Jesus is inviting us into living lightheartedly. Look with me in Matthew chapter 11, verse 30. And Jesus said that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That means that following Jesus should lead us into lighthearted living. You know, the author of Hebrews says that we ought to lay aside every weight. That's Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. So some people read this and think, oh, God is calling all of us to go on a diet. Well, if that's how the Spirit's speaking to you, then that's how the Spirit's speaking to you. But this verse is not speaking about laying aside the pounds, but it's speaking of laying aside that which weighs your heart down. So whatever's weighing your heart down, your soul down, whatever's causing you to be heavy-hearted, whatever's slowing you down, so life is just so tiring because of these things that you're carrying, those are the things that we should lay aside. Two things that really weigh our hearts down is, number one, regrets about the past and worries about the future. I'll say that again. Regrets about the past and worries about the future. But here is what Peter, who was one of the early disciples of Jesus, wrote in his epistle, in his letter. He says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, cast all your cares upon the Lord. So these cares include the regrets. These cares include the worries. So we're supposed to commit our past into the grace of God. We're supposed to commit our future into the grace of God. I know these are uncertain times and a lot is up in the air, but we're supposed to cast all of our cares upon the Lord. And when you have done that, when I've done that, we then begin to live more lightheartedly. By the way, if your hearts are heavy and you're loaded with these burdens and these cares, and there's all these weights that are racked up upon your heart, when you walk into a room, a lot of us sensitive people, we can feel you because what's going on in you affects what's coming off of you. And so hopefully as we begin to live lighter, we begin to live lightheartedly, we can become a peaceful presence to our world. Here is something that I haven't heard much preached or taught in church. And perhaps this is what the Lord is encouraging you and I with today. Is we ought to not be taking ourselves so seriously. I have a question for you. Are you somebody that people would want to play a practical joke on because they know you'll be a good sport? Or they don't bother, or they don't dare because they know you're sensitive and they don't want you to sock them in the face? But, I think we're supposed to be people who can laugh instead of holding grudges. Because it's our pride that takes ourselves so seriously. Our pride takes ourselves so seriously, and it's the ego that gets so easily offended. Bigger the ego, greater the offense. The Apostle Paul, he said something funny. In 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 10, he says, we are fools for Christ. He didn't say we are these deep philosophers. He didn't say we are these sophisticated intellectuals. He didn't say we are legends. People thought that Paul was foolish, and they called him and the other apostles foolish. And here's Paul saying, yeah, they call us foolish, and they're probably right. We are fools for Christ. He's not taking himself too seriously. He's not being offended. Like, what, you call me fool? You're a fool. Yeah, we're fools for Christ. I think about King David when he was worshiping God in dance. Remember that in 2 Samuel chapter 6? And he's just lost in who God was. And he's not super self-conscious in that moment. Have you noticed that your self-conscious friends don't know how to dance? Or they're not willing to ever dance. They have a very difficult time dancing because when you dance, you kind of look a little bit foolish. And yet here's David. He has lost self-consciousness. He's gotten over that. He's beyond ego, and he's just worshiping God because he's just so lost in the beauty and the goodness of God. And as he's worshiping, he is so joyful, but he's not taking himself seriously. And here is his wife, McCall, who will criticize him heavily, and she says, "You're acting foolish." And his response was, "Man, I'm having a good time. I'll be more undignified than this."
Thanks for listening to today's Vitamin Boost. Have a love-filled day, and we hope to connect here again tomorrow.